this in. Once I get a mixer, it's all gonna be complicated as hell, but I can work with it. Once I get everything together. Alright. Good? Okay, we're good. Alright, we're fine. Ah, Garnetzx is authority. Chronicles. Yeah. Where I'm going to continue where I left off. And continue the very same trial. How many are we at? Like 16 live streams into this very same game? Because it's a very long game. And I'm already like on episode 4. Are there like 5 episodes? I think it's the second last episode. And then there's one more case after this, which is the last part of the first game. Because there are 2 games here. There's like Great Ace Attorney Adventures and then The Resolve. At least I think it is. Start playing from the save game? Yes. Oh man. We're getting right near to the end of everything. Or is there only 4 episodes? I don't know. I'll find out. Constable Beats Report. Oh god. What were the voices for these guys again? I don't know. But seriously, Beat Rolly can't even keep his eyes open for 1 second. This case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garnetzx. Believe me, Unknown and Bobby is good for his word. You'll see, sir. The windows on the top floor of the Garnetzx are top hinge casements. Obviously, if anything had happened thrown to the window, we would have seen it. I didn't leave the scene to go and fetch help, but my trusty Lily was there to make sure nothing was disturbed. I didn't take my eye off the crime scene for 1 moment. Sir! Nothing strange to report on the front, sir! Oh, God. Oh, God.
Oh, this is quite startling. Top hinge casement windows.
What?
The details on the police report, Constable.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry about that. I must have been a little drowsy.
You cannot excuse your sins with drowsiness every time, Constable.
Speak for yourself! You threw a wine bottle right across the frickin' public gallery. You do way more shit in this courtroom than this officer does in public.
No, sir!
Sorry, but... What exactly is a top hinge casement window?
And you. You cannot excuse your ignorance with such trite remarks, my lone friend.
Well, it's not so much as ignorance, such as that he literally doesn't know what a case window is. Of course, sorry.
I found it, Mr. Naruhodo. Cast your mind back to the windows on Mr. and Mrs. Garnetzx's room.
Alright, I'll try.
So the window opens in order to allow air to circulate inside the house. But as it is a top hinge casement window, it swings open on the upper edge, you see?
I'm glad you rectified your ignorance. A casement window's most prominent feature is that it stayed a metal bar which prevents a window from being opened beyond a certain point.
It prevents its opening? So this is all news to me.
Absolutely correct, sir! In other words, if a book or knife would have flown through the open window, it would have clattered against the pane and fallen straight down the pavement below.
No.
You see the problem then? Good. Your education windows is complete. There was never any possibility of either the book or the knife traveling 15 yards over the road. That is, unless the window pane had been shattered, something we've discounted already.
That can't be! Okay, but how did the book end up?
Are you okay in there?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm just live streaming. Alright.
Mr. Rudy, the young Japanese man just collapsed in agony. Oh yes, my darling, I saw it. I saw how he crumbled before me. Oh, Rudy, you're so strong.
That's not strong. That's just staying awake. How is this happening? I haven't even started the cross-examination yet, and already my argument's been destroyed. Rec room. Fine, I'll do rec room with you tomorrow.
Consul, if you drag yourself upright again, the court awaits your cross-examination.
My lord. Oh, good. Another desperate situation. Okay, so... now I gotta do my thing and find out what's wrong with what's been said. He said nothing was business together, and believe me, London Bobby is good for his word. Hold it! Anybody could be good for their word. How can you say that for certain?
A very good question, sir. And the answer is this. It's the normal founding principles of the force written down as a reminder of all the policemen of our sworn duty.
He showed us that before, didn't he? Did he? I can't say I remember. I remember!
To patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. It's what the job's all about. And that's why I can't stand here today without my long-suffering wife and tell you that Bobby's good for his word. While rubbing my tired eyes admittedly. Sir! Ah! Oh really? You're so manly. Of course I am, my darling Patricia. Oh, Pat. Oh really?
Really? Getting lovey-dovey again? Lovey-dovey? No, none of this is what I meant. I meant, how can you say for certain that this case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garnetzx?
Ah, see, sir. You should have said that earlier, sir.
I did. I hate these people. I agree. Yes, well, so can you answer the question? That was a waste of time then.
Absolutely, sir. I'll not to the fullest of my ability, sir. There's a surprising reason why Mr. and Mrs. Garnetzx's domestic dispute can't be related to this case.
Which is?
But before I get to that, sir, just one thing.
Yes?
I'd very much like you and all your countrymen to understand the great British institution of Scotland Yard.
Why are you addressing all Japanese people now?
So I hope you'll make it back some tales of us London Bobbies and how we uphold our guiding principles.
I wasn't planning on going back just yet. I've only just arrived here.
So to that end, I'd have to lend you my warm call for your pursuit. But I must warn you, you won't be able to get it through without shedding a few tears.
Thank you. I'll try. Constable Beats warrant card has been entered in the small folding wallet that identifies London Bobbies and contains the rules of conduct to which they must adhere. Huh. Something tells me I probably need to take a look at that because that might be important. A policeman is strive to preserve the peace within his allotted beat. Patrolling officers are expected to walk 20 miles around his beat for further adherence relations. Any crimes fall under the jurisdiction of the beat in which they are discovered. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with the initial investigation and help detectives on his beat. Huh. Any crimes fall under the jurisdiction of the beat in which they are discovered. So, what does that mean? What does it mean, beat? It's like jurisdiction? Like, there's some jurisdiction here? Is that what this is? Like, huh. I don't know. But you know what?
Windows on the top floor of the garret have top hinge casements.
Hold it! So what you mean they don't open fully? Is that correct?
Yes, sir! Blah!
Wait, what about that bottom one? Does that open?
You just said allow a bit of air through the house, you see, so they're restricted as how much they open.
And therefore anything thrown out the window from inside the room would simply strike the pane and fall to the street directly below. For clarity, allow me to mark the map. Here is the location where objects would have fallen. Oh, yes! Directly opposite of the scene of the crime, on the other side of the wide road.
Would it have been so hard for somebody to mention this top hinge casement thing before? Well, I have another question for you, Constable.
And what would that be, sir?
How do you even know? Why would you have any idea of what sort of windows Mrs. Garnetzx house is furnished with?
Ah, well, sir, that's very simple. You see, I helped with the investigation yesterday.
Excuse me! Or as I say in Japan,
Sumimasen.
do you have something to add, Mrs. Beat?
Sorry.
You look, well, delighted. Is there some particular reason for that?
Oh, I was just remembering. That's all.
Remembering what?
We really were so lucky.
Lucky? What do you mean?
Well, of course I could feel terrible for the poor woman who was attacked. Don't misunderstand me, please. But we were just so lucky it didn't happen on Rolly's beat. It was just so close to see.
I feel that's important. Oh, I hadn't realized.
Oh yes, that street, Briar Road. That's all a boundary between Rolly's beat and the next one. Isn't that right, my love?
What? Constable Beat.
Oh yes, that's right. And the reason I was helping out with the interviewing occupants of the Garnetzx house yesterday. The house is on my beat, you see, sir.
That really was cutting it close then.
Constable, I wonder if you could clarify something.
If the Garnetzx household is on your beat, does that mean that the pavement next to it is as well?
Outside Mr. Garnetzx's house? Yes, ma'am. The pavement on that side of the road is part of my beat.
I see. I was unaware of that. The pavement on... Wait, hold on a second. How... Does that mean the pavement next to it as well? Okay, so the pavement next to the road is his beat. So let me get this straight. The pavement on the other side of the road isn't? I was not aware of that.
Just think, if the woman had been attacked just on the other side of the Briar Road, we would have never been able to go for a meal to celebrate our wedding anniversary. But that's the life of a Bobby, after all.
Extraordinary people at Bobby's, tirelessly working for all the benefits of all Londoners.
Do you know what I think? I think it was the good Lord's way of rewarding my Rolly for all his hard work. Don't you think so, my darling?
I don't know. It's just too...
That must be it, Pat, my love. That must be it.
I think perhaps we should make sure we have the information officially on record.
Leave it to me, Mr. Naruto. I'll take care of it immediately.
The case file information has been updated. Pavement outside where the victim was found lies just outside Constable Beat's beat, the border of which runs down the middle of Briar Road.
And now it's my turn, I think.
Obviously, if anything being thrown out the window, we would have seen it. Okay, I feel like there's a couple things... Like, we're dealing with some type of jurisdiction in this game. Like, anything... Like, if we look at the pavement of the road next to the Garnetzx house, that would be on Rolly's beat. But anything outside of that would be outside of his jurisdiction. So, I wonder... They're saying they were lucky that it was outside, but... What if it wasn't? Like, I'm thinking they're really trying to absolve themselves of whatever going on.
Obviously, if anything had been thrown outside the window, we would have seen it.
Hold it! But according to my notes here, the sun had gone down already and it was dark.
Oh, but Rolly and I were strolling along, gazing at the night sky and looking for our lucky star.
Sorry.
The star that will guide us to the eternal happiness.
Can't it guide you to answer the question?
If a flaming book had caught across the sky in front of us, it would have lit up like a shooting star. And if I seen the shooting star, I would have made a wish upon it.
This is so freaking lovey-dovey. I can see why you hate these people, Nath.
Never only been the Inspector, I would have said 3 times at least. Of course, but with the smog and everything, we couldn't actually see any stars.
In short, are you trying to say that neither the book nor knife crossed the sky before you?
Yes, sir! That is correct, sir! It shows the night sky in London is starless, sir!
Certainly seems like they're telling the truth.
And then we saw the poor woman fall to the ground, so ran straight over to help her.
Uh-huh.
I did leave the scene to go and fetch help, but my trusty Willie was there to make sure nothing was disturbed.
Was there anything disturbed at the scene? I don't know. Hold it! Yes, you said that you went to a nearby police box to fetch another officer, is that right?
That's right, yes. If it hadn't found Rolly Beast, I would have known exactly where I was going. Of course. Don't feel bad, my love. You can't be expected to know the location of every police box on every beat. So Rolly told me the way. Only, I sort of got a little lost on the way. Patricia, my darling, that's why I love you. Your terrible sense of direction is bewitched.
Oh, God. You love her for her lack of direction. Fine. You know what? Fine. It's one thing to accept someone... Oh, please.
So I suppose I got on for about 50 minutes. But like I said, my Rolly was at the scene the whole time, making sure nothing was disturbed. It was off duty at the time, of course, but the true Bubby is never really off duty, sir. I didn't take my eye off that crime scene for one moment. Nothing strange to report on the front, sir.
Hold it! I really want to double check everything. Nothing to report.
That's correct, sir. I had my eyes wide open the entire time. Never looked away for a second. No one else approached the scene and nothing was removed from it. I can swear to that in the yard's honor, sir.
Really? That seems a little strange.
I beg your pardon, strange, sir. Seems altogether regular to me.
The burnt copy of the London's Prior was originally in the Garnetzx household. So the question remains, how did it find its way into the hand of the victim? Can you shed any light on that, seeing as you were the scene of the crime the entire time?
Aha! Could be a different copy, sir. One that just happened to be burnt as well.
No, I don't think we can do that. Even if that were possible, why would the victim have been gripping a book like that in her hand? As you can see from the photographic print, she had a bag over her shoulder. Why?
Well, sir, that book was in the lady's hand from the moment we arrived at the scene.
Is that so? There's something about this statement that's not sitting right with me. The two mysteries of how the knife ended up in their back and how the book ended up in her hand. There must be some common thread between them. So now what?
Can I ask you something? Please, Mr. Lawyer, sir?
Oh, yes, of course. What is it?
You're doubting us, aren't you? I can tell.
What? I wasn't really, I mean, what's she doing?
Please, just because I'm a woman, it doesn't make my testimony less valuable.
Why are you playing the sexism card? Why are you playing the victim card?
You might just see me as a white woman policeman, but I'm a woman of my word. I am.
I really don't remember ever suggesting that I doubt you.
No excuses. I don't want to hear it. My voice will be heard. My lord, you let me speak, won't you?
Yes, Mrs. Beat. I'll allow you to supplement your testimony if you so desire. Sometimes the path of police resistance is a sage one.
That was a very loud mutter.
I heard that. The Japanese man thinks a policeman's wife's word counts for nothing, does he? Well, watch out. I might get you with something like that, but Rolly won't.
Duly noted, Mrs. Beat. Please, I humbly ask you to continue.
What could she possibly be about to say, I wonder?
Okay, what's the last one?
I know what I saw. My eyes let me down. My sense of direction is a little off sometimes, though.
Really? Okay, I know what I saw. My eyes let me down. My sense of direction is a little off sometimes, though. What do you mean you knew what you saw? I don't know. Where's the new statement? Because I feel like... Hold it! What do you... Mrs. Beat, nobody is questioning what you've told us.
I did it. That evening I saw clearly. The little thin man with the whiskers and the funny curd back, slinking away from the sun's scene.
Ha.
And I know what I didn't see as well.
What? How? How?
I didn't see any flaming books or knives flying through the sky.
All very clear. You also mentioned something about having a poor sense of direction.
Oh, yes, well, that's a little embarrassing, really. I'm always ending up at the wrong place when I've made arrangements to meet Rolly. He gets ever so cross.
Like right now?
Excuse me.
Constable Beat, is there a problem? You just fall.
No, sir. No problem, sir.
Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind, perhaps?
Well, in a way, sir. Yes, sir. I was just remembering that the same thing happened. Same thing happened that evening as all.
What? You mean Mrs. Beat lost her way on the night of the incident?
Well, you see, I sent her off to find a police box in the next beat over for mine. But she was gone a far bit longer than I was expecting. I thought she'd be back inside 10 minutes, but my darling was gone a good 15. Such a tease, but the radar was all along because of the bouquet, silly.
The
bouquet?
Sorry, what bouquet are you talking about?
Oh, it was a present for our wedding anniversary. Really so romantic. He saved up for the farthings and halfpennies he found in the gutter while doing his rounds.
Yes, how romantic.
I'd forgotten all about it until now. Had you, my darling?
Ah!
Huh? Oh, yes. But that was just between us. No talking about to anyone else, darling. You have to promise. Really? Oh.
What was that about? Constable Beat looked very obviously troubled during that exchange. I'm afraid I can't offer any useful insight, Mr. Nadahudo.
I'm quite sure of one thing. We have to ask Mrs. Beat about the bouquet.
Fine. Mrs. Beat, this bouquet you just mentioned. It's like... I'd like you to add details about it to your testimony, please.
Oh, really? Yes, I'd love to.
Miss Van Zeeks is not impressed.
What happened was I dropped my bouquet and ended up losing my way for a while.
Okay. I don't know where any of this is going. Normally, I'd find a contradiction at this point. How many times?
And ended up losing my way for a while.
Hold it! You mean you dropped the bouquet at the scene of the crime?
Yes, that's right. Oh, I was so upset. When we ran over, I saw there was a woman with a knife in her back. I was so shocked I dropped the bouquet it really gave me. It was in a dark spot where the streetlights weren't casting any lights, so I didn't notice at first.
And then you went to the police box to report it to the policeman whose beat it was on.
Yes! I came back to the scene altogether with the other constable, you see. That's when I spotted my bouquet again. But the funny thing was, when I went to pick it up, it was nowhere near the victim's body at all.
In case you reminding Miss Beat, the victim is not deceased.
I was all flustered for a moment before I heard a voice calling for me to the other side of the road.
Interesting. Why is that other side of the road? Your husband, presumably.
That's right, silly me. I'd gone over to the wrong side of the street. Although I'm going to blame the bouquet this time. I can't think of how it got there. I really can't.
So the bouquet somehow moved from one side of the Briar Road to the opposite.
Curious indeed!
Yes, I did, but the worst of it, I forgot to pick up the bouquet up again when we left the scene. That beautiful rose really brought me with the change of the gutter you spent so long collecting.
By bouquet, do you perhaps mean this sorry solitary rose?
Oh! Oh! Yes, that's it. Yes, the bouquet really bought me for my anniversary with all bits of change you found in the gutter.
Maybe just call it a rose.
Tell us all, Garnetzx, where did you come by the flower? According to the report by the police officer in charge of the crime scene investigation, It was found on the edge of the pavement in front of the Mrs. Garnetzx household.
That's important! I feel like the bouquet is important. Why in front of Mrs. Garnetzx's house?
Although it wasn't noticed until the morning as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. It is believed that to be of no relevance to the case, it was found on the opposite side of the thoroughfare.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Could I have it back now, please?
No, I think if for good measure this one should be added to the court record as evidence.
Oh.
A present for Beatrice. The shock of seeing the stab victim caused Mrs. B to drop the rose where she stood.
But it's a symbol of a love. I want it back after this trial. Do you hear me? I want it back.
Good great press! Rest assured that I should do my very best to not forget Miss Beat.
Okay. I feel like I have enough evidence for something. Let's remember that what was discussed. This rose was dropped in front of Mrs. Garnetzx's house. But let's also note that in front of Mrs. Garnetzx's house is where Rolly's beat or jurisdiction would have been. But unfortunately, the victim was found on the other side of the road. But these people are claiming that the body was originally found. So I'm starting to think Mrs. Beat is lying.
What happened was I dropped my bouquet in it.
Did leave the scene, go fetch help, trust me, Rolly. If anything thrown out of the window, we would have seen it. Windows on the top floor. This case had nothing to do with Mrs. Garnetzx, believe me, let him good. Bobby is good for the word. Okay, I feel like... Alright, let me look at the evidence one more time. The rose is very important. Present. The shock of seeing the stabbed victim caused Mrs. B to drop the rose where she stood. Maybe I should look at this?
An English rose. It's such a beautiful flower. Ah, this is rose, isn't it? I've never seen one before. Do you not take an interest in flowers, Mr. Naruhodo? I wouldn't say that exactly.
But I know 3 types at least.
Gosh, 3?
Yes. Plum blossom, peach blossom, and cherry blossom.
Perhaps you should consider branching out. Learning some of that on fruit base, for example.
Okay. Is there anything this for you? Very stylish paper that flowers wrapped in, isn't it?
It's just an old newspaper, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh, I suppose it's because I'm not used to seeing English print. Looks so exotic to me. Ah, I see. Something wrong?
Oh, no. I was just thinking that if you wrapped a stone-baked potato in sweet English newspaper, it might look like some sort of fancy cake.
Ah, so that's to saying you do love your cakes. Okay, so this rose was found outside of Mrs. Garnetzx's house.
Go fetch help, but my trusty Rolly was there. What happened was I dropped my bouquet and ended up losing my way for a while.
Nothing strange for me. What? I didn't take my eye off the crime scene for one moment. Nothing strange to report on that front. I feel like I could use the rose to contradict that last statement. Because this rose... I know I'm really getting scatterbrained. This rose was dropped outside of Mrs. Garnetzx's house when they saw the victim being stabbed. But somehow, didn't take my eye off for the crime scene for a moment. Nothing strange to report on the front saw. I'm starting to think you did take your eye off the crime scene. But I just want to double check one more. Oops. Wrong one. This case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garnetzx. Believe me, London Bobby is good for his wood. Okay, this is the one I gotta contradict. Because this rose was found outside of Mrs. Garnetzx. So, objection! I fricked up, didn't I? Wait, I fricked up. Okay, fine. Just reload. Do I still have the rose, or do I have to look for it again? No, I still have the rose. Okay, good. Leave the scene to go fetch help, but my trusty really was there. Make sure nothing was disturbed. Obviously, if anything had been thrown out the window, we would have seen it. Top floor of the get out our top hinge. Get out, believe me. London Bobby is good for his wood. Oh, God. There's gotta be something I can contradict. Did leave the scene, go fetch help, but my trusty really was there, make sure nothing was disturbed. Was there... What happened was, drop on my cane and ended up losing my way. I really feel like there's something off about this. I don't know what it is. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, what do you make of all this? Yes. The whole idea of invisible attacker has been troubling me all along. But I believe I'm starting to get a picture of what really happened here now. The fourth book that had no business being at the scene of the crime made sure that Mrs. Gerda was hiding something from us. It's becoming interestingly clear that someone else has been hiding something from us as well. I think I may already be armed with everything I need to strike a decisive blow here. This time, it's going to expose the whole truth about this mysterious affair. Okay, I have all the evidence. Let's get it, believe me, London Bobby is good for his word. The window on the top floor, top hinge casement. Obviously, if anything had been thrown out of the window, we would have seen it. I feel... What if I contradict this one? Because... this rose was found... I'm repeating myself. You know what? Just do it. Just use the rose on this statement. Here! Nope! I frigged! Which rose do I have to use? It's not the last. It's not the first statement. It's not that statement. I didn't take my eyes off the crime scene for one moment. Nothing strange to report on that, sir. Just put the rose on this one. Here! Now we got it! You claim, Constable Beat, that there was nothing to report in the 15 or so minutes you were guarding the scene. But that cannot be. Nothing strange to report, because the body has been moved.
What? What do you mean to say?
In your testimony just now, Mrs. Beat, you explained to the court the rose was dropped outside the house, which would have been on Rolly's beat. But somehow the body moved outside of his jurisdiction. That's what I'm saying. I don't know, I have a hard time explaining things. That when you arrived back at the scene of the crime with the policeman assigned to the beat, the bouquet you dropped at the victim's side was no longer anywhere nearby.
Objection!
Yes, on the opposite side of Briar Road to where the victim was attacked.
No.
But considering the size of that mere bouquet, if a single-story bloom can be so described, no doubt it was blown in the wind across the street, back into the gutter where it belongs.
Mika?
Objection!
No, it wasn't blown there. But if that were the case, why did Constable Beat not testify to the fact? No one else approached the scene, and nothing was removed from it. Constable Beat swore to that on Scotland Yard's honor.
But the bouquet belonged to me, and had nothing to do with the case. That's why Rolly didn't mention it, I'm sure.
No, because sadly it's not only your bouquet we're talking about here. More than one thing in this case is mysteriously the wrong way around.
What are you talking about?
Think about it. Besides Mrs. Beat's bouquet, there's Mrs. Garnetzx's book. Mr. Garnetzx's copy of the Lion of Pride, which was thrown out the window by his wife, would have struck the pane of the casement window and landed here, on the west side of the street. And yet, it was actually found here, on the opposite side of the road, in the victim's hand. Meanwhile, according to the testimony we've heard, Mrs. Beat's bouquet should have dropped here at the scene of the crime, on the east side of the street. But in fact, It was actually found here on the opposite side of the road, in front of Mr. and Mrs. Garnetzx's house. There's no logical explanation for those things. Unless someone deliberately moved them!
What are you trying to say? The way you're talking, it sounds like you think Rolly's done something wrong.
Don't you listen to what that scrawny loyal says? We're throwing on about books and bouquet. Why should we care? It's nitpicking. That's what it is.
Oh, good. Mrs. Garnetzx's come around. You might call it nitpicking, Mrs. Garnetzx, but deliberately meddling with the scene of crime is a criminal offense. It's called, tampering, Mr. Naruhodo. The jury heard it, but the person responsible for this tampering cannot admit to it. For a very subtle but compelling reason. Because it was their anniversary. And they, as much as they said it was a miracle or something, it wasn't a miracle. It was them wanting to take the day off.
Objection!
Tampering. You've barely heard the term before. Tell us, my lone friend. Who would possibly have had cause to carry out such an elaborate deception?
I have one idea. There's only 2 people at the scene. It would have been Constable Beat himself. Why? Because Mrs. Beat would have been out to look for a police box, but she came back to look for her roses, but they weren't there. Yes, there is someone who tampered with the scene of the crime that evening. All the evidence and all the testimony points to that one particular person.
Counsel, I must demand that you substantiate this conjecture. Who are you saying is responsible for tampering with the scene of the crime?
Rolly Beat. Him. Because he was the one that remained at the scene. He's the only one there. So, here! Obviously, there's one person it could have been. Constable Rolly Beat, it was you.
What? A policeman? I'm in Scotland, Johan.
What nonsense! Why would Rolly do something like that? There's no one straighter than my husband. Nobody who works tirelessly with the people of London.
Yeah, he was so tired, he couldn't take it and let it be somebody else's problem. Mrs. Beat, you said in your testimony that your husband asked you to go to a nearby police box to fetch the officer on duty. The 15 minutes hour you're absent from the scene is the only opportunity anyone had to tamper with it.
You're making it up. It's all nonsense. It's all lies. What about the Japanese man with the whiskers? I bet it was him. He did it.
Nope. If that was true, Constable B would have seen him do it.
Oh.
And forgive me for pointing it out, but when you dropped your bouquet, Miss Beat, it was after the defendant had fled the scene.
Ah, well.
Objection!
First, you make accusations about the landlord and his wife, and now you incriminate a policeman as well. But your accusations lack one very important thing. You claim the crime scene was tampered with. But there's only one reason anyone would commit such a reckless crime: to hide something.
That's right. He's right. But my husband and I just happened to be there. That's all. So why would we have anything to hide? It doesn't make sense.
You've offered no motive for this alleged tampering. And until you do, your accusations are nearly but nothing but empty threats.
There had to be a reason for why. Because Rolly wanted to take the day off with his wife. Because that's how frickin' tired he is. Constable Beat had a very good reason for wanting to tamper the scene of the crime. That's the key to this entire affair. Mr. Naruhodo, have you managed to solve this mystery?
Counsel, if you have made a very serious accusation against a London police officer, if you are mistaken, I'm sure I need not point out your reputation as a lawyer will be irreparably damaged. With this dark warning in your mind, you will now explain to the court the motive for this alleged tampering.
Yes, my lord. Constable Beats' motive for tampering with the scene was to hide where the victim fell. Because where the victim fell is where the jurisdiction is. Where the victim fell to the ground. That is what this Bobby has covered up at all costs.
What?
Where the victim fell? You mean where she was attacked? What are you talking about? We told you at the very start, didn't we? On the pavement in Byron Road, we saw it happen, remember? It was right here, as if anyone didn't already know.
That's certainly what everybody has been led to believe. But in fact, that isn't where the victim was stabbed at all.
What? What?
I'm beginning to wonder what this tumultuous trial will end, Counsel. If that's your assertion, then the court is dying to know, my Nipponese friend. Where are you proposing that the crime actually took place that evening?
It was here. Right across the road. Inside. Right next to Mrs. Garnetzx's house. Here!
But that's...
God dang it. Alright, 9 o'clock. I gotta grab my melatonin. And I gotta fill my water bottle. Ugh.
on the opposite side of the road.
This helps me sleep.
I don't understand.
On the evening in question, Mrs. Garnetzx's book fell directly from the open window above. And your became Miss Sweet never moved at all. What did move? Was the scene of the crime itself!
Good gracious!
Objection!
Perhaps you haven't been listening to the ample testimony the court has heard. But these witnesses both saw the moment the attack took place.
That's right. I saw it with my own eyes.
It was 5 o'clock in the evening and already dark. It was a typical London fog on the ground. When you saw the incident unfold and ran to the victim's aid, it was actually on the west side of the Briar Road.
No, that's not true. It can't have been.
Constable Beat then arranged for you to be absent for a while by sending you help. And during the 15 minutes you were away, he transplanted the crime scene. He moved all the things shown in the print, the victim herself, the 4 books. He moved everything, in fact, on the pavement to the east side of the Briar Road.
Extraordinary!
But the constable overlooked one thing.
What? What did you overlook?
The bouquet, I presume.
Exactly.
The prosecution told the court just a few minutes ago about the discovery of the rose bouquet. Lord Van Zeek said it wasn't noticed until the morning, as it lay where the street lamps cast no light.
Yes! You couldn't be seen in the dark, obviously!
Which is why it was the only the bouquet that was found in the original position on the pavement on the west side of the Briar Road. And that is the defense's theory about what really happened that evening. How do you respond, Constable Rolly Beat?
I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to nod off again, but I haven't slept properly in a month. Did I miss anything important? Oh, really? It isn't true, is it? What the lawyer said is all lies, is it? I know it is because you're the most upstanding, righteous man I know.
Is he gonna admit it right here and there?
I had a dream, a terrible dream. All the things I did that night. Everything come out. Everything exposed.
So he's actually gonna confess right then and there.
Only, it seems, it wasn't a dream at all.
Good golly!
Is he actually going to confess with tampering with the scene?
Order! Order on earth is the meaning of this, all of this!
Oh, really? Why? Why would you do something like this? Moving a corpse is a criminal offense, isn't it? She's not dead. Why would you think she's dead? She's not dead!
Wishing the victim dead should be 1, 2.
Constable, explain yourself. Why would you do this? As a respected member of Scotland Yard, your duty is to protect the good people of London Town.
He did it because he wanted to take a break.
I can't say, sir.
What?
I really am ever so sorry about all this. For damaging the Yard's reputation. For everything.
Shutting down. I have a possible explanation. For why, on that particular evening, Constable B felt compelled to move the scene of the crime. I can think of one reason.
What? How could you possibly know? You foreigner presuming to understand the mind of a Scotland Yard policeman. And yet, Lord Van Six is this foreigner who has uncovered the startling truth of the matter thus far. I believe it would be beneficial to the court to hear this extraordinary young lawyer's theory. Counsel for the defense, if you please.
Yes, my lord.
Now then, I think you had better show some evidence.
At once, my lord. England, Japan, makes no difference where you come from, human emotions are the same. And I think I have a fairly good idea of the feelings behind this man's actions.
What gives away the motive for the constable B's unthinkable actions?
I think I know what it is. His own warrant card that shows all the rules of his actions. Because within the rules, it shows that if a crime happens on the beat, any crime falls under the jurisdiction of the beat in which they are discovered. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with the initial investigations and help detectives. So that's the Metropolitan Police regulations. So, or the first part. Policeman will strive to preserve the peace within his allotted beat. Any crimes fall within... So, Metropolitan Police regulations. That's the one. Here! I realize that I'm a foreigner in this land, and I have only just arrived from Japan. Which is why all this information about London's so-called bobbies is completely new to me. I've learned that, though honorable, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world. For example,
keeping the peace, looking after the citizens of the beat is, in all kinds of ways. There's no doubt that young Bobby is charged with a great deal to do each day, certainly.
but for Constable Beat, the day in question was special.
Special? How?
On account of this bouquet, my lord.
Oh, yes. It was our very first wedding anniversary.
Constable Beat had worked so hard to be able to afford this simple gift for his wife, and was so looking forward to take her out on a celebratory meal.
When he and Mrs. B stumbled upon a crime along Briar Road.
When he saw the shadowy figure through the fog collapse on the pavement in front of him, what must have gone through the man's mind?
But sir, just someone particularly I was looking forward to celebrate my wedding anniversary. Mrs. B puts up with a lot being married to a Bobby like me. I want to show my dear wife how much I care.
This is the warrant card that the Constable Beat offered to lend to me earlier. Inside, among the rules for patrolling policemen, it says, when a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives.
Aha!
Constable Beat? Isn't that, or is that not the reason why you moved the whole scene of the crime that day? Because he wanted to put it on someone else's jurisdiction so he could take the day off. That's why.
Yes.
Yes. Everything you said, it's all right.
So that's it. It is all to do with the boundary of your beat.
Oh!
Exactly. To summarize, the incident actually occurred on Constable beats beat.
Go cautious! Constable, do you realize the gravity of what you've done?
It was the first time since I became a copper that I'd ever cursed God. Stay close, Pat. The criminal is being lucky,
So much shit in my throat, dear God.
Ran over the scene. I had every intention to do my duty as a police officer. We've got to report this to the station as quickly as possible. But then it dawned on me. I realized where we were, where the victim was lying, and what that meant for me. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with the initial investigation and help detectives. Why here? Why did this have to happen here? And why tonight of all nights? Why? It's a couple's job to guard the scene of the crime, so I told Pat she had to go to the nearest police box and fetch whoever was on duty there. It was on then when I first opened my mouth to speak. It just came out. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my own mouth. This is the next beat to my Pat. So you have to go to the police box that covers it. Turn right along Meerschaum Street and then...
So he lied about where they actually were and what jurisdiction. So it wasn't a miracle. He just basically wanted to take the day off just to be with his wife. And there it is. No. There it is.
Sorry. So sorry.
No.
Oh, Constable. I just that one night to take my Patricia out for dinner. Oh, really? Just that one night.
You knew that if the incident was on your butte, your evening and celebration would be ruined. And so you decided to move the entire crime scene outside your jurisdiction. Just across the street to the east pavement of Bry Road, which falls under the neighboring beat's care.
You see, I thought, well, I was sure the victim was dead, you see.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, of course he did. Otherwise, Marley would never have left the poor woman on the freezing cold pavement.
I see your meaning now.
But God got me back for my sins, didn't he? That's why I missed the rose I bought for Pat. Oh no, really, it was my fault. I should never have dropped it in such a dark place. I'm so sorry, really.
And can you tell us, Constable? How many books did you move from one side of the road to the other in total?
Huh? 4 it was, yes, sir. Definitely 4.
3 of them dropped by Mr. That's me in the 4th? Being the one that fell from the window upstairs in the Mrs. Garnetzx household, of course. But, what made you place the book in the victim's hand? When all the others were scattered haphazardly around, I mean.
Oh, well, sir, that's because that's how I found it.
How you found it? What do you mean?
When we first ran over the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So, when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand.
You're sure it was this book, The Lion's Pride, that the victim was holding?
Oh, yes, sir, no doubt about it, sir.
Interesting. 4th book was Mrs. Beat. First ran over to see what happened. That was the... Huh. So it was, in fact, there.
I thought it was an open and shut case at the time, you see. There were only the 2 people at the scene. And Pat and me both saw it happen. However, which way you looked at it, it had to be the fellow who ran off who done it, I thought. I couldn't see the harm, really. I didn't think moving it all over the road would make a jolt of difference. I I suppose this is it for me now. I've had it.
Really couldn't take being a Bobby.
My lord.
Yes, Lord Garnetzx.
I believe that concludes the cross-examination of the witnesses.
I feel like we're still back at square one.
Constable, you may withdraw.
Yes, sir. Mr. Prosecutor, sir. What will become of my Rolly? What will happen to him?
For now, you're free to go home. The police will contact you in due course.
Please don't punish my husband. This was all my fault. It's because I'm always mourning at him for coming home late. Leave it now, Pat. Let's go home. I'm tired. Alright then, my love.
One last thing, Constable.
Sir?
Let this be a lesson to you. In a criminal investigation, every detail matters, however insignificant as it may seem to you.
Yes, sir.
Carve that lesson in your mind. And never again make the mistake of tampering with the scene of a crime.
Lest you be in Garnetzx's crosshairs.
I never can, sir. You need to say?
Leave now. This trial is not yet over.
Sir!
My God.
Well, quite a startling revelation, I must say. Who would have thought of a third party transplanting the entire scene of the crime like that?
Indeed, my lord. Nevertheless, there are some immutable facts here. Principally, that the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume, is the only person who could possibly have committed this crime.
No. That knife flew out the window and accidentally hit the victim. No, I disagree. Now that we know the true scene of the incident, there is someone else. Another person who could be responsible for the knife in the victim's back. Mrs. Garnetzx. Forgive me for being so presumptuous, but I believe the prosecution is probably well aware of this possibility already.
Lord Garnetzx, this is true!
Very well. Name the person if you will, and if further investigation is warranted, the prosecution has no objections to the trial continuing.
You'll name this other person who could have perpetrated the crime.
Mrs. Garnetzx. She's the only person who recognized the knife and responded in such awe. So... her! The defense would again like to request the cross-examination of the new witness, my lord.
Once again!
My assistant made the same request earlier, in order to finally reveal the truth about this case. It's imperative that we cross-examine juror number 4, Mrs. Joanne Garnetzx.
Me? Oh dear me.
Objection!
Why are you objecting? You say you had no objections.
That request has already been denied.
Objection!
You said you had no objections, but the situation is very different now. Mrs. Garnetzx, answer me this.
What do you want now, you little toad?
At the time of the incident, you were engaged in a violent argument with your husband, Mr. John Garnetzx. In the course of the argument, a minor house fire was ignited. And to clear the smoke from the room, your husband opened a window that looks over Briar Road.
Well, what of it?
You threw this book at your husband when he was cornered with his back against the window. Upon striking the pane of the open hinged casement window, the book plummeted directly down. Finding its way to what we now know to be the true scene of the incident.
Yes, and as I said, what of it?
During the argument, you were beside yourself with rage. As such, you threw not just books, but anything you could lay your hands on. So, let me ask you one more time, Mrs. Garnetzx. This knife, the one removed from the victim's back, have you really never laid eyes on it before?
Ah!
I don't recall
Seriously.
Am I supposed to remember everything I picked up and threw at my husband? And anyway, the man over there all in regalia said members of the jury needn't testify, didn't he?
Conveniently, yes.
Objection!
Hey Dave, can I have a scoop of energy powder?
No.
Okay.
Seriously, no. One second. Okay, back. Alright. Just had to get some water. Because... And keep an eye on my stuff. Alright, where was I? Okay. Oh. No recollection... No, I have no recollection of saying that at all, juror number 4.
Oh!
Make no mistake, you jurors are not special in any way. You are not immune to the judicial process.
Wait. Man over the regalia said members of the jury need not testify. Did he conveniently? Yes. So Van Zeeks is actually disagreeing with her.
If you know something about this knife, madame, let the truth come out.
But that's a common grey garden knife. It could come from anywhere. We have several like that at home. If one were missing, how would you expect me to know?
What's that?
Are you joking?
What are you saying? Please, Mrs. Get it up.
No, you listen to me. I refuse to believe all this nonsense. I couldn't bear the thought of that angel someone. Do you hear? I couldn't bear it.
Oh, the poor woman.
So, yes, I want evidence. I want to see hard evidence if you want to insist on this being my fault. You're going to have to prove it to me that I threw that knife, if that's what you think.
Is there anything about this knife, aside from the fact that the tip is broken? Oh, the tip to be missing. You're right. What could have happened to it? Yes, you don't think it could still be lodged in the victim, do you? Oh dear, I hope not. Okay, there's gotta be something. Any evidence that suggests she was in on it? Fourth book. Okay, there's gotta be something. But what? What?
Come along now, chop chop. Do your worst.
Well, I'm sitting at a hoodoo. If I had evidence like that, believe me, I would have thrown it at her already.
Then take the stand, juror.
Oh!
The prosecution does not object to the defense's request to cross-examine this woman.
Thank you, Lord Van Zeeks.
I'm going to have to testify.
Juror number 4, as I'm sure you'll appreciate having observed it with your own eyes today, witness testimony can lead to the most extraordinary truths being unearthed. Truth of which the witnesses themselves may not have even been aware.
Oh dear.
So I demand your full and unadulterated testimony, Mrs. Garnetzx. And marked by words in the court of law today, we shall extract the truth. Do you concur, counsels?
Certainly, my lord.
Oh, that's what I'm hoping for, my lord. This is such a strange feeling. The first time since arriving in this country, it actually feels real. I'm here, in the Old Bailey, and I'm a lawyer. Finally getting to the bottom of it.
Witness, state your name and occupation.
Oh,
Yes, my name is John Garnetzx. And I'm a juror, and as such like...
Sounds like even she doesn't know if she's a housewife, or a maid, or what anymore.
the court of society court testimony is required in order to clarify matters of the case. Do you understand, madame?
Yes, my lord. You'll tell the court everything that took place in your household on the evening in question. And I warn you, do not attempt to hide the truth.
Yawn!
Oh dear me. Chin up, Johnny. Nothing to worry about now.
Mr. Garnetzx.
Oh, I didn't know you were here, John. Wasn't only you in the room that day was whole thing, was it? Rather think I ought to testify as well, don't you? But what about your knee, dear? Don't you worry about that. Hardly notice it. I'm not the sort of chap to leave a caller to face discipline action alone. Oh, John.
I presume you're Mr. John Garnetzx?
Yes, sir. Former second lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment of the 4th Northumberland Fusiliers, sir. See my fair share of action, and now living a quiet life, as it were. A quiet life, were you not engaged in the incendiary battle with your spouse on the day in question? Ah, well, yes, ahem, quite.
I believe this may represent a first in the proud history of the British court. Calling a juror to the witness stand is unprecedented. However, the court will hear your testimony just now, juror number 4, and that of your husband. You will recount clearly and concisely the events of your home and the time in question.
Sir, at once. Oops. Sir, at once.
Alright, the Battle of Garnetzx.
Yes, on the day you're referring to, the wife and I did a bit of skirmish, can't recall the reason now. Knocked a candlestick off, set fire to the carpet. Soon had it out, though, and got the window open. Meanwhile, I was picking up whatever I could find thrown at him. Plenty of knives around our place. Can't say I noticed if one or two went missing, I'm afraid. If that belly thing in the victim's back really was one of ours, you'll have a job proving it, I think. Yes, you gotta prove it hard. Don't make me sound any more like Sean Connery.
Sounds as though it was quite the battlefield in your household that evening.
Although an entirely one-sided assault, it seems. The enemy caught up the hop, sir. I had no choice but to dig in and take defensive measures. To be honest, if the enemy had kept shelling us for another minute, we'd have been toast. Of course, a veteran such as myself is only too aware that every battlefield you're just an ounce risk from death at any moment.
Are we still talking about a marital quarrel here?
Well, I must say I'm dubious this testimony would shed any light on the origins of this jackknife.
In combat, one's focus narrows, such as the surroundings are barely noticed. These witnesses may not even be able to offer anything more than they have testified already. This may be a dead end.
Garnetzx may well be right. Well, whatever the chances, we only have this last cross-examination to uncover the truth, Mr. Nanahoodle. Yes, I'm afraid so.
Very well, counsel. Begin your cross-examination.
skirmish. Can't recall the reason now. Hold it! Are you sure you can't recall the reason? The reason is what you told us yesterday, I believe.
Yes, that's right. If I remember correctly, it all started because of a note that was stuck into the page of the book belonging to Mr. Garnetzx.
Rather passionate note, in fact. But Mrs. Garnetzx found the note, discovering her husband's little secret.
And she gave him a mighty number of slaps across the face for it, too.
What a sordid state of affairs!
Hell on earth. I say, when a chap says he can't recall such things, it's a common decency not to drag it all up. And besides, half of it was wide of the mark anyway. I like my story.
These waters run very deep.
And what transpired next after these multiple blows to the face?
Knocked a candlestick over and set fire to the carpet. Soon had it out, though got the window open.
Hold it! And the fire also spread to some of the items of the furniture, didn't it?
The bookcase, my armchair, anything on mine, really?
Ah, so tired. The melatonin kicked in fast.
Just so happens there was some bath water around that evening, so I sloshed it all and put it all out.
Most precious situation! Precarious situation you put yourself in!
I was in a 3-story townhouse on the west side of the street, but the water main isn't connected yet. I had to draw water from the public water pump during the day if you needed it, you see. Well, it's just always funny that they can't get any water at night. Although that little mustached Japanese man buys water in bottles, I believe.
The defendant, Mr. Nutsman, you mean?
Yes, he receives a stipend for his studies, you know, from his home country. Can you imagine being able to brew a pot of tea at all hours? He's obviously very well off.
Have you actually seen the state of the man?
I believe he uses all his income to buy books.
Well, anyway, the point is I was able to douse the fire with water, fortunately enough. No, sir. Meanwhile, I was picking up whatever I could to throw at him.
Hold it! Even though the room was on fire.
As far as I was concerned at the time, it was more important to extinguish my anger than the flames. When a woman wants to throw, she must throw.
That is most certainly not true, the Susatsu takedown, Mr. Naruhodo. How did she know I was thinking that? So, please cast your mind back and try to remember. Was a knife among the items that you threw your husband that day? She's gonna deny it, or not say anything.
You know, honestly, I don't recall. But I feel I must point out that I'm no monster. Let me see. Some bread, a cabbage, garlic, a towel, and a sponge. Napkin.
Why are you saying by Jupiter? Excuse me! Do you have something to answer? Mr. Garnetzx!
Oh, what? Don't shoot. Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon?
Do your wife's remarks just now bring something to your mind?
Nothing of any significance, no. Just that the barrage of projectiles the old thing launched in my direction was somewhat more solid than she implies. Books, bricks, and the fire poker, I seem to recall. Ouch. And the woman's aim is uncanny. She landed direct hit with my very ah! Good grief, Owen, we're not at home now. There's a court of law. Oh, dearie me. I'm so sorry, dear.
What's she even doing with a teapot in here?
Honestly, Joe, I never would have thrown such things at you, obviously. Well, take a look at this then. How do you suppose that happened then?
Your pipe, sir!
Had this thing in my hand as usual at the time of the onslaught. Knocked it clean with one of those soft projectiles. She did, yes. And then when I went to pick the thing up, it was broken in two. I'd like to see a sponge do that sort of damage.
I see, your pipe was broken.
I would never have been seen flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid. Anyway, I managed to bandage the thing up for now. You are one to exaggerate, aren't you, dear?
I wonder what we should make of this account. It could be important. The defense believes Mr. Garnetzx's remarks are just now to be of great importance.
Objection!
This war veteran's words only tells us one thing. Betrayal for your wife and pipes, as well as hearts, may be broken. Sentimentalism, perhaps, but hardly worthy of adding to formal testimony.
Indeed, common sense, one might say.
Might one. In that case, would you at least permit us to examine the pipe, sir?
Well, I don't see why not. Oh dear me, there you go again, trying to integrate yourself with the young lady.
No. There's something about the pipe. Is there a broken piece of a knife in that pipe? Because I think we're gonna find that inside of it.
Very well, the court will accept the gentleman's pipe as evidence.
Apparently it fell to the floor during the domestic dispute, but he had with his wife and broke. Hope I didn't speak out of turn, Mr. Hodo. I was just feeling rather disappointed for you that your request was soon done. Oh no, it's fine. Mr. Sato-san, we have some new evidence to work with. We should examine it carefully. We should examine it right now! I knew it! I somehow knew it! Oh, something just twinked inside the chamber of the pipe there. Yes, I saw it. Something stuck in there, I think. Let's turn it over and give it a shake. What's this? A tiny fragment of metal. It looks like the tip of a blade or something. Tip of a blade. Surely it couldn't be. Small piece of metal looks to be the tip of a blade stuck inside the... Aha! That's the other end of the knife that was stuck to the victim. Okay. We found it.
Well, thank you for that rebuttal, Mr. Garnetzx. Now, good in terms of the crux of the matter. We can't tell the court about the knife used to attack the victim.
Bloody knives around our place, can't say I noticed. So one or two are missing, I'm afraid. That valley thing in the victim's back really was one of our eyes. You'll have a job proving it, I think. I think I should use that evidence right now. Because that... I disagree. I have it right here. Objection! There we go. Mr. Garnetzx, could I ask you to take a good look at this, please?
You can ask, but I can't see it. I can't see a volley thing.
You can't?
Used to call me Dead-Eye Dead back in the regiment, of course, but that was some time ago. Even I'm trying to enjoy a large print book by the fire these days. I struggle to tell a B from a D and a P from a Q, to be honest. Oh, he does, Jeremy. It's rather wearing being asked about every other letter in the every other word.
You must D very doozy. You must D very dizzy. Be very busy.
What is that? A tiny scrap of metal?
Yes, almost certainly from the tip of a blade. And what may appear to be first just a tiny scrap is in fact a crucial piece of evidence.
Interesting. And where did the defense come by this evidence?
It was lodged in the chamber of Mr. Garnetzx's pipe.
My pipe, you say? By Jove, I wonder how that got there.
What precisely does this fragment of metal signify, Counsel? Are you suggesting that it's in some way related to the matter of the stopping on Private Road?
Yep. I am. What? When put together with another piece of evidence already in the court record, I believe this tiny fragment of metal will unravel the whole truth of the case, my lord.
You appear rather confident in that extraordinary statement, Counsel. Very well, then, present the pertinent evidence to the court. What evidence, when paired with this fragment of metal, allegedly reveals the truth to the entire case?
This. Here! This is the knife that was found in the victim's back. If you look closely, you will see that there is a small piece at the tip of the blade that was missing.
A common issue with inferior blades sold at unsavory street markets. Criminals who use them regularly leave tips lodged in the victim's bones. And what of this particular knife?
No doubt its tip is suffered a similar fate, now languishing somewhere near the spine of the victim. Nope. No, that's not the case. The tip of this particular blade's knife is the very fragment of metal you discovered in the chamber of Mr. Garnetzx's pipe! Ah!
Good grief, Roland Van Zeeks!
Ooh, it looks like he actually suffered a heart attack.
I don't believe it. No. No way. The knife from a crime scene, and this fragment of metal.
He's having that look again.
A perfect match! By God.
Wow, that actually hurt Van Zeeks.
Good golly gosh!
So the knife actually did come from Mrs. Garnetzx.
Order! Is this some sort of instant sorcery? Oh. This is no magic, my lord. This is a miracle.
Interesting how he had a freaking heart attack right then and there.
A miracle!
So Van Zeeks has figured it out, has he?
Counsel, explain this extraordinary coincidence at once!
Yes, my lord. The crucial point we have asked ourselves here is when did the fragment of metal find its way inside Mr. Garnetzx's pipe? Something that was clarified for us in the most recent witness testimony.
Had this thing in my hand at usually the time of the onslaught. Knocked her clean with one of her soft projectiles. She did, yes. It would never have been sent flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid. Oh, dearie me.
During the argument between these two that occurred just as the victim was on the pavement below, Mrs. Garnetzx flung the knife at her husband. However, the knife missed Mr. Garnetzx, instead striking the pipe in his hand at the time.
Which caused the tip to break off, of course.
Good lord!
Yes, and that is when the tiny tip of the blade found its way inside Mr. Garnetzx's pipe.
The chances of that are 1,000,000 to 1!
And yet there's no other credible explanation for how the tip of the blade ended up in your pipe. Then, after losing its tip, the knife ricocheted off the pipe and flew out of the open window.
Ah!
In short, this knife, which fell from the window of the Garnetzx house, is the very same knife that struck the victim in the middle of the back on the street below.
Oh gosh! Oh dear! Oh no!
Objection!
Are you gonna throw that to the fire?
A full-body theory, I'll give you that. A complex bouquet of seemingly trivial points, possibly arranged to create an utmost passable vintage. Allow me to toast my lone friend's characteristically Nipponese approach to boiling his argument.
Sorry.
But after that, it is just theory. The bottle, I fear, is corked. Because you see...
Wait, is it corked? I can't tell. What the? I thought you were gonna throw it.
It's spoiled by an insurmountable inconsistency.
Insurmountable. What? Oh, it's almost 10 o'clock.
Oh, Van Zeeks, explain yourself! What is the inconsistency you claim to identified?
An inconsistency of the simplest nature, my lord. The victim was found with the knife planted in the middle of her back.
Yes, in her... Ah!
That's right! You silly man!
Now, Joel, no thing. What are you getting so excited about? Let's consider the basic facts of the case once more. The victim was walking along the pavement before being stabbed in the back and falling to the ground. If the knife that struck her had fallen from above... Into the fire it goes! There's no possible way it could have planted itself in the victim's back.
Da-da!
you see, that's exactly. If the knife had fallen on her from above, it would have struck her on the top of her head.
Well, unless there was a reason why it didn't. Maybe... I think I know why. Those last 4 words. Look.
I knew it. I never liked this theory in the first place.
I don't know, though. What really did happen?
It would appear the defense has made rather a large, spectacular blunder. If a theory has even one inconsistency, it cannot stand. Your theory, my lone friend, is history.
There's gotta be a reason. We were so close. I could see the truth. I'm so sure we were on the right track. But now the way has been blocked completely by just one simple inconsistency. Or in other words, we simply need to eliminate that one inconsistency. The theory will still stand. Miss Susato. You mustn't worry, Mr. Naruhodo. You were just caught off guard, that's all. And your mind went blank. And if the path you're on is indeed correct, then a way will present itself. The key to this is in the core record, I'm sure. All the information you need is there!
Seems you have nothing to say, my Nippity's friend. Well, your silence speaks volumes. A tactic acceptance that your theory is fatally flawed.
Objection!
There is an explanation as to why she was struck in the back. It says consistency doesn't mean I was on the wrong track. It means that I need to sharpen my mind and dig deeper for the truth. It's a test. Yes! If the knife fell on the victim from above, there's no way that it could have hit her in the middle of her back. Under normal circumstances, that is.
What are you implying?
Counsel!
There is a piece of evidence in the court record that can explain this inconsistency. That can explain how the knife that fell from above could have pierced the victim's back. We already have the answer. I have one idea on how that's possible. One slight idea. And it's the only idea I have, aside from everything else.
Goodness! Utter madness!
Utter madness!
Surely this must be the last time. Counsel, present the evidence which you speak.
Slap yourself in the face. This is the last inconsistency, the final piece of the puzzle. If I can successfully make sense of this, the truth will be laid bare at last. The evidence that explains how the falling knife became lodged in the victim is... this. Here! Because... this is the 4th book found at the scene. Because the book was thrown first. And it fell down. And so if the victim was walking along the road next to the house, she would have seen the book and picked it up, bent down, exposing her back above. So that would have explained it. This is the final piece of the evidence the defense will present.
The Bones book. Is that not Mr. Garnetzx's book?
Yes, and to understand its significance, we have to consider how it came to be at the scene in the first place. This photographic print clearly shows the book in question, and the victim holding it in her hand.
But as we all know, it was a police constable that put the book between her fingers like that.
Quite so! As part of this whole fake transplanting of the crime scene to the opposite side.
That's true. However, as part of his testimony, Constable Bean made an extremely enlightened statement on that point. But, what made you place that book in the victim's hand?
Oh, well, sir, that's because that's how I found it. When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So, when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand.
So it was already there. In other words, the victim had already picked up the book on her own volition. And clearly, that must have been before she suffered the knife wound.
Well, I should say so. After being attacked by the knife, I don't imagine she had been doing so much of anything.
So the question becomes, why did the victim have that book in her hand?
By Jingo! I think I'm beginning to see what may have happened now.
Oh dear me. We know that the book fell from the top floor of this garret into the pavement below, at precisely the moment that the victim was walking past.
Yes, it's exactly the moment. The young woman was walking along the street in a light fog, when all of a sudden, a book fell right in front of her.
The book I threw.
Yes, Mrs. Garnetzx, and what do you think of that woman did? What would you do if you were walking along and suddenly a book landed in front of you on the pavement?
Well, I really can't imagine it. But, I suppose...
She might have reached out and picked the book up.
Yes, that is exactly what the woman in fact did. She picked up the book, which is why it was in her hands.
Oh! Oh!
And when the woman reached down to pick the fallen book up, what position would her back have been? That's right, facing the sky, completely and utterly defenseless. Then, in the very next moment, while the woman was still bent over picking up the book, the next object fell from the room above, the jackknife, straight into the middle of her back. At that same time, walking by chance, directly behind Miss Green, was the defendant, Mr. Soseki Natsume.
Well, I never...
It appeared to Mr. Natsume that the woman simply collapsed on the floor, in the dark and the fog. He didn't see the knife falling on her from above.
Ah! And from the other direction, the constable and his wife saw no one but the victim and a apparent attacker.
So never was a real culprit to run from the scene of the crime in the first place!
No, this was nothing more than a series of unlikely events that culminated in an unfortunate accident. And that is the real truth behind this case. Van Zieks is not impressed. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Garnetzx?
The very first time you showed me that knife, I had my suspicions. I wondered if perhaps it might have been something like that.
Hello, old bean.
Poor Mrs. Garnetzx.
Of course, I never meant for anything of the sort to happen, but it was all my fault, wasn't it? I take full responsibility. I let my anger get the better of me. I threw that book, and I threw that knife as well. John dear.
It's alright, I know.
I'm ever so sorry. Truly. I'm sorry!
Interesting. And his back is frickin' burnt. Probably because everything caught on fire right behind him. Burnt his right behind. Or did he shit his pants way too many times? And it slid the other way around.
Oh, Van Zieks! What news of Mrs. Garnetzx?
She's been taken to the infirmary. It would appear that today's events had left her in especially flustered state. However, I believe she will recover in due course. There is no cause for concern.
Yes, unbeknownst to themselves, their cause will easily be a terrible tragedy. They shall have to prepare themselves for the consequences of their actions.
There is some good news, however, my lord. I've just heard word from the hospital where the victim is being treated. Her condition is improving steadily, and the doctor believes she will gain consciousness soon.
Ugh. It's strange. We've been talking about the victim all this time, but we never once met her. How wonderful.
The woman is out of danger, it seems.
Yes, that is good news.
So, Mr. Sasaki Nestle, yes. On behalf of my fellow countrymen, I would like to take this opportunity to beg your pardon, sir. You came from a distant eastern homeland to study our great British culture. And have been somewhat repaid with immeasurable unkindness. Please accept our heartfelt apologies.
No, it was me who should be begging your pardon.
Oh no, Mr. Natsume.
That evening, when the young woman just collapsed on the pavement just before my eyes, I jumped to the wrong conclusion again, in my confusion.
What conclusion, sir?
I was sure that the woman was dead. Yes, Constable Beats said the same thing, didn't he? He thought she had been killed too. I suppose she must have looked completely lifeless. It's been about a year since I arrived in Great Britain now, but I still can't get used to life here. I can't relax. I'm sure there are evil spirits lurking in that fog. Like they're haunting me.
Really? Poor Saseki-san, his imagination really has got the better of him. I really wonder, is that like a Soseki thing, or is that like a Japanese thing where you see evil spirits around? Like a folklore thing. He kind of brought the culture with him to Britain.
Yes, poor man. So when it happened, I thought the young woman has been taken by the fog spirit. I should have never dropped my books like that and run away. I should have called for help, for the doctor, for the police. Instead, I've managed to create a rift in the relationship of the trust between our two empires. And for that, I'm truly sorry.
Is that Mr. Garnetzx standing where Mrs. Garnetzx should be?
One could indeed say the sort of mischievous spirit have been more at work here, I think. One that created a chain of unfortunate mishaps. We are befooled by the spirit and led to a false conclusion. But thanks to Lord Van Zeekson and your young lawyer from the east, the chain has now been broken, and the spirit exorcised. I heartily commend you both.
Oh. Interesting. Just like the Phoenix Wright series, both the defense and the prosecution have been congratulated.
Now then, ladies and gentlemen, the jury.
Yes, my lord.
In concluding this trial, I must ask one last time for your decision regarding the defense culpability. Are you ready to present your findings to the court?
As the foreman of the jury, I can assure you we've reached a fair and just conclusion.
I do declare the truth to be extremely cruel at times. Well, I didn't suspect the woman next to me, that's for sure.
Sitting in for the old bean while she's out of action, you know. Why don't know what her decision will be. Does this mean I'll finally be able to get out here and start work? Well, it's about time.
Hey, sir, I'll have a cool over store to tell the grandchildren when I get home, won't I? Damn it, no one ever believes me. Very well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hereby demand your final decision. Actually, I'll believe you. Mr. Foreman!
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Just like that. So the scene was an accident caused by Mrs. Garnetzx.
Very well, Mr. Soseki Natsumi, I hereby pronounce you
Not guilty. Muzai. Oh my god, but is he gonna be killed by Van Zeeks? No.
And finally, Mr. Natsumi,
Oh, yes, Lord Sir.
you are now a free man once more. It is my hope that you will continue to further your education in British culture. And may you never again be brought before me.
Oh, yes, sir. Of course. On my life, I swear I'll never step out in the courtroom again. I'm troubled, 2 tears
Thank you, councils. Court is adjourned.
Finally. And just in the nick of time as well. Ugh. Oh my god. The old 20th February, 3:17 p.m. The Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber.
Oh, locum.
Wait, you mean me?
Of course. Is there another locum here? Much alone.
Is there even one? Compared to the original locum student, Mr. Nahado Esquire, your name has become rather short, hasn't it? I think it became longer. What? If that's the short version, what's the longer version? Is it like the Japanese version in and of itself? What's wrong with using my actual name?
Oh, at last, I'm free. I'm free. Joyful, joyous, jubilation. Happy, haughty, happiness, hurrah.
Oh, I am pleased. Mr. Natsume is delighted. Would it be so hard to just say that then?
Locum, you did it. You saved me from the brink.
Well, what happened to the poor woman who was in no way your fault after all? Just glad everyone can see that now.
No, not that. Lovely, loyal, locum, loyal.
Yes.
I mean, as I said before, I have just never gotten used to life here in Great Britain. Every time I look over my shoulder, I see foreigners. I see towering brick buildings. And from high up windows, I see them looking down on me, laughing. Look at that little hunchback.
Oh dear, I'm sure it's all in your head, Mr. Natsume.
But today, you, locum lawyer, gave me my gloom in the boot. You stood from behind the British, burying your bench before those bloody British. You battled to the bitter end, laying bare the baffling truth. And when I beheld the blinding fireworks among the beams of the Bailey's roof, I bellowed, "Behold the best barrister ever born!"
Well, that is very flattening, and we're very pleased for you.
This has given me a wonderful anecdote to recount to my old friends back to Japan.
An anecdote? Is that what's become of all my hard work? Oh, there you are, my dear fellows.
I apologize for keeping you waiting. I rose late this morning.
Oh, Mr. Sholmes, what a pleasure to see you.
I see I am here not a moment too soon. A disaster has been averted, I'm glad to say.
Oh!
The trial shall begin presently, Mr. Nahado, and I wish you the very best of luck.
What? It's just finished.
What? No! Then my haste was in vain? Ah! It's you! You're the Airlock Sholmes!
Oh, have we met, sir? This is Mr. Natsume, the man you had arrested, Mr. Sholmes.
Ah, I see. I failed to recognize you at first. Our previous encounters had taken place in the gloom, either bleak lodges or that prison cell. I simply couldn't place that curious face in the lights.
Charming.
This is all your fault! Airlock Sholmes! You're the reason I had to go through this terrible ordeal! I'm going to give you a piece of my mind! My apologies, sir, but I assure you, I have placed you now. You're the fellow who abandoned that poor young lady and ran off, are you not? Oh! I should be taken to hospital more urgently. I feel perhaps she would have regained consciousness by now. Oh! But it is unavoidable, I'm sure. We are but human after all. Anyone would have been shaken by such an experience. I do feel very badly about how I behaved. Well, never mind. Now then, what was that you wanted to say to me, sir? Nothing. Ah ha 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 ha! Priceless. Oh, I am sorry. Really? But that was quite priceless. Poor Suzaki-san. Still on the bright side. Dang it! I can't sleep! I can't sleep! You had an extremely entertaining experience without paying a penny. And it would seem you were not even found guilty. But there's no bright side.
Whatever do you mean, Mr. Natsumi?
Even after this, I'm still cursed by the spirits and now by the Reaper.
Ah, Lord Van Zeeks.
I haven't forgotten, what facing that man in court means. Even if you're found not guilty, you're still doomed.
It will be alright, Mr. Natsumi. If the Reaper appears trying to make trouble, I will protect you. Hiya! Oh, great. With a perfectly executed Susato takedown. Much as I like being turned on my head, a bit warning might be nice next time, Mr. Sato. I don't... and even if you were to give someone the Susato takedown... Mr. Natsumi, what do you intend to do now? You mentioned something about recounting your experiences to your friends back in Japan?
Yes, I intend to return to my homeland soon.
Oh.
It has already been a year since I arrived here in Great Britain. I've visited universities, libraries, bookshops. I've been honored with the tutelage of professors. I've learned so much about the wealth of literature here, and the city is shaped. And I've come to realize it is my calling to sail home and tell my fellow countrymen about it.
That's very touching, Mr. Natsumi.
Oh, and perhaps less veiled terms. You wish to withdraw halfway around the world. To escape the terror of the Reaper's curse. That's not at all! The more I learn of literature, the more the strange feeling claws inside my insides. I feel compelled to return my roots and attempt to pen a work of my own.
Oh, I see. A work of literature by Soseki-san. Could be an interesting read.
And what about Mr. Sato and yourself, Mr. Nanahodo?
Oh wait, why do I keep making him sound like Van Zeeks? Sorry, what about us?
Will you return to Japan alongside your mustache compatriot?
Why would we? A week has not yet passed since we arrived in London. And now does it feel like we have finally found our feet?
And you're accommodated in a hotel at present, are you not?
That's right, but we need to find lodgings before it bankrupts us. I've calculated we cannot afford another 10 nights before our entire budget is exhausted.
Well then, you can take my lodgings.
Oh, the windowless room?
Ah, but when it lacks the windows, the more it makes up for the floor, the ceiling, and walls.
Great.
And of course, I'd be happy to leave behind the accursed evil spirit.
Oh my, an evil spirit?
Oh yes, it tries to suffocate you while you sleep. It's an infallible wake-up call.
Well, think about it. If that's alright. Perhaps I can offer more welcome.
Perhaps I can offer a more welcome alternative. Will you consider taking lodgings with me?
Really?
Well, a vacancy has conveniently presented itself. Though it is up in the attic, I might add.
Are you sure it isn't just a storage loft?
I spoke with the landlady this very morning on the matter of price, and Iris is cleaning the room as we speak. You must come at once. I presume you have no luggage to speak of?
Oh, this is simply wonderful. What an honor to be invited. Taking lodgings in the great detective's office's attic. I'm too uncomfortable with. So suggesting we look elsewhere is out of thing.
Then it's settled. Iris will prepare a welcome dinner this evening. And you must come too, Mr. Natsume. I insist. I don't know what to say, but thank you, yes.
Wonderful. Then I'll go and complete paperwork for your formal release, Mr. Natsume. It shan't take long. Somebody's happy.
Look,
I'm yawning again.
I knew that you wouldn't let me down. I'm truly delighted to have met you here in London.
Likewise, Mr. Natsume, it's been a privilege meeting you too. It's a shame that we're gonna have to say goodbye so soon.
Well, I've come to realize that I belong in Japan. But look, we'll meet again one day.
Yes, I'm sure. And hopefully by then, I'll be a successful lawyer.
Hopefully by then, I'll be a successful author.
Interesting how you say the somewhat equivalent.
Well, my dear fellow, a carriage appears to arrive.
Shall we go, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, Mr. Sholmes. I've little doubt Mr. Natsui will be released in time for the dinner this evening. And so, with Soseki-san's innocence successfully established, we rode with Mr. Sholmes to what was to become of our new home, 221B Baker Street. So they finally found lodgings. The attic room, 4:41 p.m. So this is to be a new office, yes. Our office. But I like the sound of that.
Me too. It's simply wonderful, isn't it?
So they finally somewhat settle down. I hope you can see this, Kazuma. It's only a small step. But I'd like to think we're getting a little closer to your dream now. So, my dear fellows, do you like the place? Huh.
Ah, Mr. Sholmes, yes, thank you so much. It's a delightful room, Mr. Sholmes. I simply adore it.
Good, I'm pleased to hear it. Iris and I are delighted to welcome you.
I hope everyone's hungry. It's nearly time for dinner. We'll eat as soon as Mr. Natsumi arrives. We'll have lots to celebrate.
Iris, you must let me help you.
All right then, Susie. You can be the charge of the salad. Splendid.
Really? So, Mr. Naruhodo, how does it feel to have your own office in the capital? It's very exciting, actually. I can't help wondering what adventures await us. Ah ha 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 ha! Those were precisely my sentiments when I first established my office at these premises. Until I discovered the dark truth about the city of London, that is. Sorry?
London is a glorious place full of wonder, opportunity, prosperity, and mirth. But the brightest of lights casts the darkest of shadows. Shadows? What do you mean? Well, I believe you're well aware of the murkiness that lies behind London's facade already. So, once again, Mr. Naruhodo, welcome to London.
Of course, at the time, I had no idea of the significance of those words Mr. Sholmes so casually spoke. But it wasn't long before my turn came to lift the facade and see the true depth of the murk that lay behind it. Some murky stuff behind London's public end. Just like that. Wait, is that the end of everything? The end of this game? Landed in London. Bronze trophy. For completion of episode 5 of The Great Attorney. So this is actually the second last episode. Oh my god. Save progress. Yes. Ugh. Alright, I finally gotta get going. I finally have to sleep! Alright. Oops. Now. Save on number 5. There we go. Now, episode 5, The Adventure of the Unspeakable Story. Alright, that's it. I gotta get going. I'm tired. It's almost a quarter after 10 right now, so I really gotta sleep. Because I got more work tomorrow, and tomorrow I'm gonna do a little something different. Instead of the greatest attorneys, I might do a Melodix live stream or something. Because usually I have my multitasking for a couple hours after I finish work. And then come back home. Actually, no. Finish work, come back home, multitask for a couple hours. Because I got like 4 different windows open, doing a bunch of things other, preparing for everything else. And then I'll do the Melodix live stream. Alright, thank you all for joining, and I'll see you all tomorrow for Melodix or Rec Room, depending on how Nath responds. Alright?